So today we're going to start the endocrine system. Remember I said the endocrine system is what legit runs your life. So endocrine systems our system is made up of a bunch of glands that make hormones. This is a really complicated system. Endocrinologists are like the smartest people I know. So I'm going to try to simplify it as much as I can. The structures aren't too complicated though. It's just once you get into the functions and disorders. So let's get going. A gland. So a gland is an organ that makes a hormone. And a hormone is just like a chemical that controls your life. So there's two different types of glands. We can call them endocrine glands or we can call them exo. So endo means inside and exo means outside. Endocrine do not have little tubes that release what they make. So they are ductless. A duct is a little tube, like an air conditioning duct is a tube that comes out of the air conditioning. I don't know. That's not my degree. I don't know air conditioners. So the fact that they don't have little tubes to release what they make, the way that they release what they make is that blood washes through it. So just like as blood is circulating through that organ, it picks it up and puts it directly into the bloodstream. It, how do I explain? It circulates all throughout your body in that blood. And it has to have a way to where it will only affect its target organs or its target organ cells, the things that it's trying to affect. Because if it affected every cell, because that blood's going to go through and touch every cell, there'd be mass chaos in your body. So basically, it's like this little key that will only fit in the lock that are on the certain cells that it wants to affect. So the first one we're going to talk about is called the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland is also called the master gland because it is the puppeteer that runs your life. It's only about the size of a grape. This is it right here that hangs from this little stalk in your brain. So remember, this was like thalamus and hypothalamus, and then bam, pituitary. It is located at the base of the brain. So this person is looking this way because this is the cerebellum, and that's always at the back. And this is the brain stem headed towards the brain, the spinal cord. So eyeballs would be here. It's divided into a front and a back and lobe. Remember when we section things in the body, a lot of times we call them lobes, like your lungs have lobes and your liver has lobes. So anterior means front and posterior mean back. So this would be the anterior lobe and that would be the posterior lobe. Next organ is your thyroid. A lot of people have thyroid problems, so a lot of people have heard of the thyroid gland. It is butterfly shaped. Anyone, and I mean like, loosely butterfly shaped. This is it right here. Anyone remember something else that is butterfly shaped? That's right. The rash across the bridge of your nose and on your cheeks that you have with lupus. Lupus. So I have never seen a nursing or an anatomy test that does not ask a question about the butterfly shaped structure that is at the front of the neck. So the anterior means towards the front, so it's on the front of the neck. It is on either side of the larynx. Remember, the larynx is your voice box. So this is your voice box right here, and it wraps around it. And then it goes over the trachea. So this is voice box, and then voice box continues down to be trachea. So it's kind of where the voice box meets the trachea at the front of the neck, and it is butterfly shaped. Now on the back of the thyroid, so if you see this is still a butterfly shape, but you can tell it's kind of scooping this way because we're looking at the back of it now. There are these 4 little dots, and those 4 little dots are your parathyroid glands. So they're about the size of a grain of rice each, and they're attached to the back of the thyroid. Next comes your thymus. So we've talked about the thymus before when we talked about the lymphatic system. The thymus matured some of your white blood cells, and remember your lymph system, your lymphatic system was highly linked with your immunity, your white blood cells and your ability to fight off stuff. It is also endocrine because it makes a hormone. And in fact, the hormone that it makes helps mature those white blood cells that are growing up there. So this is the thymus, and I can tell that this is an adult because it's small. Remember that this is the one that shrinks with age. So you see the thyroid up here, the butterfly-shaped one that is, I always think it's a butterfly that's trying to choke your neck because it helps me remember that the butterflies are wrapping around the neck. And then this is the thymus. So many people confuse these two because they both start with thigh and they're both right there. So I always think you must have a heart. So the thymus is the one around the heart, and the thyroid wraps The roid wraps around the throat and tries to choke you. It is posterior to the sternum, meaning that it's behind your breastbone, the chest plate that's right here, the sternum. And again, it's large during childhood, but atrophy means to shrink with age. Look at that, guys, that's crazy. I'd heard that it atrophies with age my whole life, but when I saw this picture, I was like, oh my God. So this is the thymus in a newborn. It is bigger than your lung and then your heart. And then this little pitiful barely there thing is the thymus in an adult. And again, this is because it helps with immunity, right? So when you're first born, you're seeing everything. It's a whole new world. You're seeing everything for the first time. You're so likely to get sick from everything. So your immune system has to like be all jacked up and legit on the top of its game. Versus, when you're 40, you've been there, seen that. So you have immunity to most things. So it can kind of start to slack off a little bit. It's reached retirement, which is #goals. Adrenal glands. So you have 2 adrenal glands. One sits on top of each kidney. So you have a kidney, and then it's like the little kidney's little top hat. It's a little blob that sits on top of the kidney. It has cortex and a medulla. So again, just like your hair, and just like, what else was it that we talked about having a cortex and a medulla? I'm blanking. Oh, your kidneys. Yeah, so kidneys have a cortex. I always think the cortex is the C that wraps around the middle medulla. So you see here that you have the middle medulla, and then you have the cortex that wraps around the outside of it. And it's super important to remember that a kidney has a cortex and a medulla because it makes different hormones in the medulla than it does in the cortex. Remember, endocrine glands, all these glands make hormones. And so the medulla makes very different hormones than the cortex does. And then you have a pancreas. So pancreas we also talked about in the digestive system, because in the digestive system it was exocrine. So remember, all these things we've talked about so far are endocrine, and the pancreas is as well. It's also endocrine. But endocrine meant that it makes something that blood washes through the organ and just kind of picks it up as it's washing through. Exocrine has tubes. So the pancreas makes digestive enzymes, and you see these little green tubes are what takes those digestive enzymes and dumps them into the small intestine right here in the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine. So it is exocrine, but it is also endocrine, because we'll talk about that the pancreas makes insulin, which is a really famous hormone that diabetics don't have enough of. The name of the part, so you see these little tubes, and that's what's exocrine. It has these certain little cells in it that are endocrine, and we call those cells, the one that are making the endocrine hormones, the name of those cells are islets of Langerhans. And that has to be the dreamiest name of anything in your whole body. It sounds like somewhere you're going to take a cruise to. Like, where are you going next summer? Oh, my family and I booked a suite cruising to the islets of Langerhans. That is a wasted name, but it's in your pancreas, which is behind the stomach. Stomach not shown. Stomach would be like here. This is liver, small intestines, stomach. So remember, we talked about the spleen, the stomach, and the pancreas are all in that left upper quadrant. So yes, it's the right side of your screen, but if the patient's looking at you, this would be their left upper quadrant. Gonads. Everyone, go ahead, giggle. Everyone thinks gonad is like a slang term. No, it's a very medical term. It's any sex gland. So you have male gonads, which are the testes, but you also, we'll see on the next slide, have female gonads, which will be the ovaries. So these are also going to be part of the reproductive system. So we'll wait and talk about them a lot in the reproductive system, which is the next system we'll do. Males, the male gonad being the testes or testicles, but testes is just what this curriculum prefers, are located exterior to the body, to the main pelvic cavity, in a hollow sac of skin called the scrotum. So this little egg-looking thing right here would be the testes, and this is the scrotal sac. Female gonads, that's right, you heard right. A gonad is just a sex gland, the organ that makes the sex hormone. So in females, that's ovaries. So again, we'll talk about it way too much in the reproductive system. Females' gonads, the ovaries, are interior to the body. They're on the inside. Only males hang on the outside. There's one on each side of this is the uterus, the thing that the baby implants into and grows up in. So this right here is the ovary. This is just a little ligament that's holding it so it doesn't float away. This right here is the ovary. They have two. It's just cut off over here. So they have one on each side of the uterus. And again, it's in the pelvic cavity, which is way, 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 way down low. About the size and shape of an almond. Isn't that crazy? Guys, y'all don't even understand how much issues, the misery that it causes in a female. And it's only as big as an almond. Though they be but small, they be mighty. Okay, that's it for today. That's all of the structures that we'll talk about. Again, the structures aren't too difficult. Just try to get where they are. And if there's different sections of them, like different lobes or cortex and medulla, that's about it. It'll get more difficult starting tomorrow, I believe, with the functions. Bye, guys.